Katseye, at some point, we're gonna have to stop releasing music that sounds like this.
Deaf Duck Records presents Global Get Down all around the world. It is animal friendly, vegetable friendly, mineral friendly. This is brilliant. I can smell the millions.
And it's funny because the whole point of that movie was like, will the cheetah girls sell out or not? And that's kind of, it's not exactly what we're talking about right now, but it's kind of in the general realm of this conversation. The reason that I'm talking about this now is because this last weekend was a big weekend for Katseye. First of all, they released their highly anticipated comeback single, Pinky Up, which we will discuss because I have very complex thoughts about this song. And Katseye also performed at Coachella. Their performance was massive. Like, the production quality was incredible. The girls looked phenomenal. They were dancing their asses off as usual. Like, we don't expect anything different. But I was already frustrated with where Katseye is right now, and I was hoping this would change my mind, but Coachella actually made me more frustrated, not less. Now, I want to say this up front, okay? I don't consider this video to be like a hater talking about Katseye. I'm a massive Katseye fan, or I have always been a massive Katseye fan. I don't really even know what I would call myself at this point. But I just want to make it clear that this is not a video of me basically shitting on a group that I've never believed in. My problem is actually the opposite. My problem is that I feel like these girls are way too talented to consistently be treated like a gimmick, like a meme product. And once I get more into, you know, what Coachella proved versus what Pinky Up proved, I think the whole problem becomes a lot clearer. So to start, like I said, I have been a big fan of this group since debut, since Touch. That's when I jumped on. I did not partake in watching Dream Academy, mainly just because, like, first of all, I didn't know it was out until the group had already been, you know, started releasing music. And anyone that I have heard of that has watched that show never has anything positive to say about it. It's never like, oh, it's such a great show, you should watch. It's like, oh yeah, this is a show where, like, you know, grown-ass adults are taking advantage of little girls and basically like working them to the bone, making them work like hours and hours every single day unnecessarily, pitting them against each other with the promise of, you know, stardom and, like, you know, celebrity and money and fame and whatever. And that's just like, that's just not my idea of a good time. I don't know. Even without watching that show, like, you don't need to watch the show to know that this group has massive potential. If there's one thing that you can always say about Katseye is that they are going to perform their asses off. They can dance, they can command a stage. Most of them can sing very well. Around the time that Touch came out, it also felt like we were like starving for a girl group in the US because, like, for a while we didn't have one. Like, Fifth Harmony came and they went, and then we just basically had nothing after. And it also felt like they had the most opportunity that I have seen in a while of avoiding the Fifth Harmony trap. Meaning, like, instead of just being a group of talented girls standing next to each other, like, it felt like Katseye had the real opportunity to be like a full-fledged package. And a huge part of the reason that I got attached to this group is because, like, everything that they put out, like, not the music, but like everything else, their lives when they go live as like a group or a duo, Laura putting out covers, interviews, random clips, like, everything felt so personality driven. They just seemed like such fun people to be around, and that really, really built a trust in me that, like, I can put my full faith in this group and I know they're going to provide, you know? Like, it feels like a good place to put your trust into. And it felt like the girls, like, deeply cared about what they were building, so it was just like, well, they care, I care, let's do it. Like, I'm along for the ride, you know? My issue is not that I stopped seeing the talent. My issue is that all the material they are putting out just starts to feel further and further away from the girls themselves. To really explain, like, why this frustrates me so much, I have to describe to you, like, the version of Katseye that I like the version that I initially fell in love with. Take a song like Gabriela. I think Gabriela is the perfect example of the potential that I see in this group because this song truly leans into the global girl group pitch that we were all sold. It taps into a more Latin influence. It allows Daniela, a Latin member of the group, to actually, like, show her culture and have an entire bridge where she gets to sing in Spanish. It feels like their identity, or at least part of the identity of the group, is in the song itself. I don't expect Katseye to become this, like, high art, you know, conceptual group, but my issue is that every new release is starting to feel aggressively empty. And this is not like just a weak single. Like, this is the first time that the strategy of it all is starting to feel louder than the song. I do think there are certain parts of Pinky Up that do work. And I don't want to sit here and pretend like the entire song is just like a steaming pile of hot ass, you know? Like, if you're really into hyperpop or, like, you know, EDM adjacent chaos, like, I totally see why a song like this works for you. The chorus is very catchy. If I'm being honest here, right? I still find myself walking around the house like, Pinky Up. But catchy does not automatically equal quality. The song just feels like it's all over the place. The verses feel almost completely disconnected from the choruses. Towards the end, the song kind of, like, starts to rev up where I'm like, wait, and then it's over. And it's like, what did I just listen to? It feels like they started with what TikToks can we make and then work backwards, and then the result they landed with, they just called the song. I'm just not really sure if this is like fun chaos or more just like TikTokified whiplash. And the biggest problem here is that it doesn't really feel like the girls are behind this fully. We all know that the girls themselves are not the problem here, because Coachella proved the exact opposite. Their Coachella set really just proved like they can command a stage. They can really sell a moment. They have this draw that they can like force people to pay attention. The performance ability is not the problem. The charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent is not the problem. The problem is that they keep getting handed material that feels like it's smaller than them. I feel like I can see the better version of this group so clearly. Their Coachella was really like their first debut as 5 members. And even the people who were like praising this whole rollout, they're praising Pinky Up, they still feel compelled to focus on Mano. Like that is still a cloud that is hanging over this entire thing. And once you start noticing all the little disconnects here and there, like the whole thing becomes harder to trust. The whole group becomes harder to trust. And that's my real issue with Katseye. It's like, it's not just the bad songs, it's trust. I can survive a bad single from an artist that I love, right? That is not the issue here. Like, let's be real. Most of our faves have released some songs where it's like, baby, that could have stayed in the vault. What's harder to survive is this like gut feeling that the people, the most likely men in a corporate office somewhere that are behind these girls don't care about the girls and the longevity of this group in the same way that we do. And I do think that's what's happening here. Like it truly feels like they are being engineered and manufactured in a way that is becoming a lot more visible than it has ever been. And that's not a great feeling, especially when everything else that comes from these girls personality-wise is so fun and exciting. Everything else that we see aside from their music feels so human and warm. It's like the fan connection says one thing, but then the product says something completely different. And I think that disconnect is part of the reason why this whole thing feels so offensive, because like it's not like the girls are not capable of giving us more. We already know they can. It's just like the whole thing at this point is starting to feel like sabotage. The easiest version of this conversation is just like, well, maybe they're just not good, but like I don't believe that. And they have shown time and time again that like that is just not, that's not factual. That's not accurate. The more honest version of this conversation is that the girls just keep being given material that does not play to their strengths and doesn't allow their strengths to be the reason that people stick around, aside from, you know, their performance ability. Lara is the most obvious example of this. She is so underused musically. It's so frustrating that Lara has repeatedly shown interest in not just like songwriting, but also producing, vocal arranging, and for whatever reason, they are dedicated to just make sure that any comeback, any song, all she's got to do, or all she's gonna do, is show up and sing a line that's straight out of a damn Dr. Seuss book. Megan, and to some extent Mano, have always shown like interest in songwriting and at least being an integral part of the songs that they release. I'm not saying that every single member needs to be, you know, a songwriter or a producer or whatever. Like that's just not really realistic. But what I am saying is that I need the music to start feeling like they're a part of it, to start feeling like it's their identity being put into the product. Right now, the strongest thing about Katseye are the girls themselves, not the music, which is not a great long-term strategy for a music group. And having this conversation, Flow kind of comes to mind, not because I want Katseye to become more similar to Flow sonically, but just because like Flow seems to be listening to the conversation that's being had about them and where they are currently and adjusting based on that without throwing away who they are. And that's what I feel like is the real danger here. Like Katseye's identity is just starting to become a big gimmick. I used to think that Katseye had like no clear artistic identity, but now I think they do have an identity. I just think it's the wrong one. Their identity currently feels like chaos, like a gimmick, and just like a consistent like baiting the general public into having discourse about whether or not their abilities match the content they're putting out. And if the main thing that like not even just your fans but the general public always say about you is like, what the hell is this? Eventually that starts to become your reputation.
Boba tea blank, Tesla blank, fried chicken blank.
These are such deep lyrics.
Those look like a nice snack.
Oh,
like,
it sounds like something
Katseye.
Katseye would sing.
It's Katseye.
And that's what I think their label doesn't completely understand, is that like, yeah, of course you can build a career in the short term off of virality, but you cannot build a foundation off of consistently making people roll their eyes. And the worst part is like once the general public, people who aren't super familiar with you but kind of have heard of you here and there starts to only see you as a gimmick, as a big joke, like that's very hard to come back from. The whole thing just feels like missed opportunity after missed opportunity. And especially when you know how talented these girls are, like it's not just frustrating, like it's maddening. I'm heated, you know? Like it feels like we're watching a group that we fully believe in being told to act like clowns. And I also can't talk about this era honestly without mentioning Minot, you know? Like I don't want this whole video to become a Minot conversation because not only have I already done a video about that, but I feel like that's all everyone's talking about. And I'm just getting tired of it, you know? But it would be dishonest not to bring it up because I do think it affects how this era lands. The optics, the timing, the ambiguity of this whole thing, like it really affects, I think, the way people are viewing this era, especially because it's not like Minot is just like out of sight, out of mind. We'll get back to her when we can, you know, like she literally was in the audience. And how are you as a group? Like, I'm sure they're under contract and whatever, but how are we supposed to take it when you as a group are like, we're sisters forever. We want her to have all the time that she needs. Like, you're making it seem like Mama is in a coma somewhere, but she's literally in the audience. But even if you were to remove the entire Minot situation, I would still have massive problems with how the group is being handled. So yeah, they exist at the same time, but they're totally separate issues. I don't think Katseye is doomed. I do still think there is time for them to pivot because like this song was one of their most successful debuts that they've had so far. So like there is still attention being put into this group, but we will not really be able to see the effects of this whole thing until probably an era or two after this. I don't think this is over. Like I think they still have plenty of time to fix this. Well, not plenty of time. I think they still have time to fix this, but they got to get on it. They got to do something real soon. If they drop something after this that feels more akin to, say, Gabriela, where we're tapping into a member's, you know, culture, we're letting the girls sing more, like their identity feels like it's more a part of the product itself, I do think that would help a lot, even though it would also be a little annoying that we're just kind of repeating the same album, you know, marketing cycle that we just did with Beautiful Chaos. If the girls get more involved in the music, you know, we actually start seeing their name in the credits of the songs, and if it starts to feel like they are genuinely proud of their work, right, I think that would also help a lot. And if they like pay attention to us and like, you know, pivot accordingly, I do think that would help a lot as well, because like artists pivot all the time. What I do think would be super tragic is if like Hype and Geffen see all the conversations being had. They see, you know, the jokes and the eye rolls and everything, and they go, oh, well, it's working. Any publicity is good publicity. And it's like, no, like, please do not double down on this. Maybe it's just getting to a point where like, I am not the demographic for this music. And that makes me really sad because like, I feel like a protective, like, gay best friend over these girls. Like, I truly, truly love these girls, but maybe I am not the demographic for this. But then I would also wonder, then who is the demographic? Because to be fair, like on our feeds, you know, on our algorithms, we only really see the things that are going to speak to us. And so the only people that I really see on my like Twitter feed or whatever talking about Katseye are the gay boys and the girls. And so if that's not your demographic, maybe you could say, well, it's mainly younger girls, but then like that can't be true because all of their imagery is very, very sexualized. It's very like, you know, suggestive, and that's not necessarily appropriate for younger demographics. So like so who are you speaking to? Who is this for? I believe that very often any publicity is good publicity, but I think that becomes a little more tricky when people just stop taking you seriously. I feel such a connection to these girls. I truly believe in these girls, and I know they can be one of the biggest girl groups ever. Like I truly, in my soul, in my heart, like I truly believe that. And that's why it sucks so much to see them constantly get pushed towards something that just feels so much smaller than their potential. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, because like this is such a frustrating predicament that we are in. Do you like Pinky Up? Do you feel like it's fun chaos and that I'm just being way too harsh? Or do you agree with me that like we gotta figure something out? Like, I don't know. Let me know. I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one.